Hello again and welcome to Last Time Studios Top 10 Things You Might Not Know. Get your stovepipe hat on because we're about to get serious. Not just the subject matter either. There's some serious acting chops going on right here on screen as we talk about Gangs of New York. So let's get started with number 10. Number 10. If you've ever seen the film, you'll always remember the moment when Bill the Butcher, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, points to his eye with a blade, where the blade looks like it's touching his eye. Well, that's because it is. To simulate Bill the Butcher's fake eye, Daniel Day-Lewis had his own eyeball covered in prosthetic glass. He learned how to tap his fake eye with the tip of the knife without blinking. Now that's what I call attention to detail. Absolutely no fakery here, just absolute magic on screen. Number 9. Budgeting cutbacks. The original budget was 83 million. In fact, it ended up being Scorsese's most expensive film at the time, totaling 100 million. Now let's be honest, with the calibre of actors and some of those sets, I'm honestly not surprised. It's just epic. Pete Postlethwaite was actually lined up for a part. Imagine that. Wow. But when he found out the pay for the part, he said, "It was the biggest dream in my life to work with him," Scorsese, "but I thought it was a bit of a scam." Oh well. Scorsese and DiCaprio both took away reduced pay to keep the film in line with budget. In fact, Scorsese said that he returned his salary to keep the film in budget. Number 8. Real-life photographic inspiration. The epic POV shot where Amsterdam re-emerges into the 5 points after he's recuperated from his wound is a visual reference to Jacob Riis's photo Bandit's Roost, used as the cover art on some editions of Herbert Asprey's Gangs of New York. Cinematographer Michael Ballhaus was handed a lavish book of Rembrandt prints when he signed onto the film, and he was told by Scorsese that that is exactly how he wanted the film to look. Beautiful. Number 7. More on Bill the Butcher. Most of the gangs mentioned by name were real 19th century New York gangs. Bill the Butcher cutting is largely based on a real-life New York gang leader called William Poole, who was also known as the Butcher, and had much the same prestige as Daniel Day-Lewis's character. Bill's last words, "I die a true American," were in fact the last words of Bill Poole, whereas some comparisons to his true-life counterpart were not as accurate. For instance, Bill the Butcher cutting states that his father died in 1814. William the Butcher Poole, who Cutting is based on, was born in 1821, around 7 years after the fictional version's father died. The draft rights depicted in the film are mostly accurate, but the real-life Bill the Butcher Poole was killed several years before the riots took place. Number 6. Hanks the Butcher. Tom Hanks? Yeah, great in his own right, but can you imagine him playing Bill? Well, Martin Scorsese said in an interview that he offered the part to Hanks first. He loved the script, but he had to turn it down because he was busy filming Road to Perdition, 2002. Tom, thanks very much. You're really great, but no. Besides, Wilson would get lonely. Daniel Day-Lewis was persuaded to come out of semi-retirement by Scorsese. I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him, right? Number 5, DiCaprio. I love DiCaprio. He's gone from strength to strength. Martin Scorsese first became interested in working with DiCaprio on Robert De Niro's recommendation. De Niro worked with him on This Boy's Life in '93, and he was thoroughly impressed. As we know, Scorsese and DiCaprio would go on to work together for more than 10 years afterwards, working on what can be described as only some truly epic films. What a way to start working together though, right? What a great film. Number 4, accents galore. There was a lot of attention and detail added to the film from the accents used by the actors, as the accents indicated and revealed loyalties. The film's most excellent voice coach, Tom Monich, resisted using a generic Irish accent and focused on distinctive dialects from England and the UK. Leonardo DiCaprio's character was born in Ireland but raised in the US, so his accent was made to be a blend of the accents. I suppose it's quite a tough one to figure out. In order to develop the lost accents of the Yankee natives, Monich studied old poems, ballads, newspaper articles, and the Rogue's Lexicon, a book of underworld idioms compiled by New York's police commissioner so that his men would be able to tell what the criminals were talking about. Great stuff. Number 3, the first battle. The first big battle in the film's epic. It's always stuck with me, the way the filmmakers portrayed the violence escalating over the course of the scene. It's very subtle to start with, and it ends with a lot of graphic violence and detail. This battle between Cutting's gang and Priest Fallon's gang actually appears to have been based on a real-life event, which took place the 21st of June 1835 on Pearl Street between Chatham and Centre Streets in the heart of the 5 Points. The New York Sun wrote about it, calling it a most disgraceful riot. It goes on to explain how it started, saying it was a dispute between 2 native citizens and several foreigners. According to the paper, the riotous assemblage amounted to several thousand people, many of those concerned armed with stones, brickbats and bludgeons. And before our 2 top picks, as always, here's some honourable mentions. Robert De Niro was also considered for the role of Bill the Butcher Cutting. Gangs was the only Best Picture Oscar nominee of the year to also be nominated for Original Screenplay. Martin Scorsese cameos as the wealthy man, Jenny Turtledoves, at the head of the table. Scorsese refused to let 9/11 change the final image. There were 18 different versions screened for various audiences. No reason not to be thorough, I guess. Number 2, Jenny, the Considerable Many. Jenny's character went through a lot of considerations. Sarah Michelle Gellar was originally cast to play Jenny. Yeah, she had to drop out due to a conflict of schedules with Buffy the Vampire Slayer 97. Scorsese actually chose Sarah Polley for the part, but later cast Cameron Diaz because the studio insisted on someone more bankable. Adding to the long list of names that were in the mix for Jenny are, and in line with the film, I will butcher some of these names: Christina Applegate, Kate Beckinsale, Kirsten Dunst, Eliza Dushku, Heather Graham, Bryce Dallas Howard, Alyssa Milano, Natalie Portman, Christina Ricci, Winona Ryder, and Mena Savai. They were all either considered or auditioned for the role of Jenny Everdeane. Apologies if I got some of those names wrong. Cameron Diaz ended up being quite unhappy because her 6-week initial contract kept getting extended. In fact, it ended up being an entire 6 months that she worked on the film. And finally, coming in at the number 1 slot. Number 1. It was a long time coming. The film was 32 years in the making. Scorsese read Herbert Asprey's book, The Gangs of New York, an informal history of the underworld in 1970, and wanted to make a film out of it. He bought the movie rights to the book in 79, but then spent the next 20 years trying to get the project on a big screen. And we're so glad that he did. That's it for this week. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. 43